You're listening to the Telltale Channel. In this podcast, we got a win in 2024. Mark Robinson, the Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina and self-avowed black Nazi, lost his election. I'll take the wins where I can get them. Let's talk about him. Here's some good election news for 2024. For one thing, we got our first openly trans member of Congress. The trumples are not going to be happy about this. The trumples are not happy about it. I found another old satanic panic video designed for police officers to recognize signs of satanic rituals. They have this supposed ex-Satanist stroll through a random park, and he happens upon like a billion Satanist symbols drawn in chalk on the ground. This is so funny. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. We got some bad news with Donald Trump. I don't want to bum people out, so I'm not going to talk about the bad stuff almost at all. We're only going to be talking about positive stuff. I want to start by pointing out some wins that we got. Mark Robinson, self-avowed black Nazi, quote unquote, lost his election. He's not going to be the governor of North Carolina. That's good news. Now let me talk about Mark Robinson, why he is so absolutely psychotically terrible, and then we're going to talk about some of the positives, some things we have to look forward to in the near future. All right, let me just introduce you to him. This is the first clip I ever hit of Mark Robinson. Check this out.
It is flat out child abuse. Sorry. Yeah. Take your children and tell them they have to attend school. Don't have a choice.
Like, what a psychotic thing to say.
And then some of them will tell them they don't want you to have a choice where they go to school.
Yeah, I mean, we should have zoned schools. Yeah, absolutely. You know, New York City doesn't have zoned schools for high school, and it's a nightmare, dude. Oh my God, it's so bad. You have to apply to schools like they're colleges. Dead serious. There's a lottery system, and the kid has to take the subway to school every day, or you can pay for a school bus, which costs $3,000. Wait, how much is it? No, $800 a month or something like. It's insanely expensive. My kid just takes the train. She gets like a free train swipey thing, a subway swipey thing for every day. Anyway, yeah. Unzoned schools are bad, like really bad.
You have to send your children here to school. Then when they get there, what do they teach them? Teach them a bunch of stuff about how to hate America.
What's he talking about? Hate America? What?
Teach them a bunch of stuff about why they're racist.
Who's teaching kids this?
Teach them a bunch of stuff about transgenderism and homosexuality.
No, I never had a transgenderism class. I don't remember that. Anybody else remember that class? Is it just me? Am I the idiot? Did I miss the class? Did I skip it one day?
I'm saying this now, and I've been saying it, and I don't care who likes it. Those issues have no place in a school.
Okay, fine, whatever. No place in a school, great. He doesn't just want to remove classes that teach kids to be trans. Obviously, that doesn't exist, but that's not really what he's trying to do. At its heart, he's trying to suppress any discussion about it at all. Erase it from society completely. Control people's behaviors, control their beliefs, control the information that they take in, remove anything from libraries that he thinks don't belong there for one reason or another. Burn books. I mean, they are literally banning books. There's a list of books to ban. So if you can manage to get your mitts on some of those books, it would be good.
There's no reason anybody anywhere in America should be telling any child about transgenderism, homosexuality, any of that filth.
Okay, bro, no one is teaching kids about these things. And part of me thinks he knows that.
Any of that filth. And yes, I called it filth. And if you don't like it that I called it filth, come see me and I'll explain it to you.
I mean, so he's not speaking as a politician here. He's speaking from a pulpit about political issues. This is an erosion of separation of church and state, for what that's worth. Aside from that, he was a lieutenant governor at the time. Again, he lost. I am so glad he lost his governor's race. He might have been one of the worst governors or senators or anything running. may be worse than Carrie Lake, who also lost her race.
It's time for us to stop letting these children be abused at these schools. And it's not going to happen till the people of God stand up and demand different.
Anyway, yeah, that's Mark Robinson. Absolutely insane. I am so glad he's gone. But like I said, there are some things to look forward to. So I want to talk about a few things you have to look forward to, and then we'll cover Mark Robinson like a little bit more and what, some of the other really bad stuff that he got up to. First of all, Carrie Lake lost her election. That's phenomenally good news. Mark Robinson lost his election. That could not be better news. And I have my wife here. There are some good things that we have to look forward to. And, I don't think that we should beat ourselves up and just get ourselves down over what's happening right now. We have to keep on fighting. Okay, so my wife is in law school. She's like this close to finishing. It was like a month or 4 weeks away or something now, and I have her here. So
2 weeks, not counting finals.
Yes, there you go. 2 weeks. Oh my God, 2 weeks. It's so close. So what do we have to look forward to? Like, why is it not so bad that it's worth checking out over? What's your take?
So, as you already mentioned, we have our first trans congressperson, and that is an unbelievably huge deal. I can't even express how excited I am about that. Like 10 years ago, even, that would have been something that was just incomprehensible.
I didn't actually mention that one yet, but that's a
Oh.
good point. I mentioned Carrie Lake and I mentioned Black Nazi. So that's another piece of good news.
So we're seeing a lot of wins on those fronts. We're seeing representation actually happen and getting people into positions of power where they can actually affect change. That is huge. To put into context, it was just maybe 4 or 5 years ago that Bostock versus Clayton County was decided, and that was where LGBTQ rights were protected as civil rights. And, it was less than 10 years ago that queer people got the ability to marry each other. So the fact that we have gone from that to now having an openly trans person in Congress in less than 10 years, that is huge momentum. That is fantastic. And that is something that we should be absolutely celebrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does feel bleak sometimes, but we take 2 steps back, but we always take 3 or 4 more steps forward. It's worked that way since forever. I mean, just look at 100 years ago. I mean, women just gained the right to vote in 1919. And let's see, civil rights, 1965, not legally allowed to discriminate against people based on like their race and a bunch of other qualities. I mean, we are moving forward. So we take big steps back sometimes and it feels like it's lost, but it's not.
And there are other places we're moving forwards too. This isn't me just like grasping for straws to figure out where we can find some hope. There's actually a lot of hope. I know that this election didn't go the way any of us wanted it to, but at least at the federal level. But at like the state and local levels, we had some major wins. I believe there were 3 different states that had school choice on the ballot, and every single place said no. So every state that tried to introduce school choice and diverting funds away from public education into the hands of Christian nationalists absolutely rebuked it.
Like what Mark Robinson was talking about a minute ago, about sending your kids to specific schools and teaching them all this stuff. All of that ideology from the far right was shot down, basically, right? And also, didn't we get abortion referendums passed in some states?
I believe nearly every state, if not every state that had abortion on the ballot, passed those protections.
Except Florida. I think that one lost their referendum. They got a majority, but
Oh, because it was weird because I think 57% they had and they needed 60.
Yeah, so they passed a referendum basically forever ago that makes it so that referendums require 60%, but the referendum to pass that itself did not get 60%. So anyway, it's a big thing. But yeah, they didn't get their 60% for abortion rights. Either way, we got a lot of wins for abortion too.
I mean, we got a win in Missouri. That is like the heart of Trump country. And yes, the federal election did go for Trump, but the people in Missouri now have a state level protection, and that is going to be fantastic. Actually, I think there may be one more step they need to do, but at this point, it is more or less crossing the I's and dotting the T's.
Yeah, and there are checks on power still. Each branch is supposed to check itself. In my personal opinion, I don't believe that. Look, I've been studying World War II a lot, and there are a lot of steps between here and there, between here and Germany. A lot of steps. I think that, we're going to take a rightward turn. Obviously, we're already taking a rightward turn, but we have to keep on fighting. So just stay optimistic, basically.
And I mean, one of the biggest checks is you all. It's the political process. It's voting. It is people signing up and making sure that no one in your local area is running unopposed. And that is actually something I want to celebrate too, is since the election, I know it's just been a week, but we're now seeing a lot of momentum going for local elections. We're seeing people committing to getting on the ballot, getting running for like city council, even running for, what is it, like a school board position. We're seeing a lot of people who are now entering the fight and going into the political process themselves. And so that in and of itself is going to be a huge check. It feels small being local things, but local things are where you actually make change happen.
100%. And shout out for Alex DeWitt, won his election as county commissioner, I believe. Fantastic news. Beat the Republican, big money backed guy. That's fantastic. And we saw that all across the country. It feels like Trump shifted a lot of people to the right. That's not what happened.
And in actuality, one other thing to celebrate, white people voted for Trump at a lesser percentage than they did in 2020.
And I didn't look at the final numbers, but Trump got around the same number of people, same number of votes as he did last time. There wasn't a rightward shift. There were just people that didn't seem to care enough to vote. Like a lot of people, unfortunately, but people that voted for Trump, that didn't go up. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses gain 6% per year, roughly, even. Trump didn't gain that, seemingly. He hasn't been gaining like that, bizarrely. So,
and the reason why I pointed out that specific demographic is because that's his base. And the fact that there are people actively abandoning him, his base, the white supremacists, that is a good thing. I know he still won, but he's losing. Ultimately, I know everyone keeps saying this, but I really think that if we just fight for a little bit longer, we're seeing the death throes right now of some of the worst ideologies that we've seen in a generation.
It is not more popular today than it was 4 years ago. It is not. In fact, I would argue it's less popular because there are now more people filtering into the voting system and everything, and he hasn't grown almost at all. So, yeah.
So there's a lot to celebrate. It feels bleak, and in some ways, actually in a lot of ways, it does suck, but we're not losing. We won a lot in this election, and there's so much that we should celebrate, and there's so much that should energize us to get in there for the midterms and to get in there for the next presidential election and to be running for local offices.
Yeah, and additionally, I know that I get the desire to check out here. That totally makes sense to me, but we need to amp up our support of people, do anything that we can, anything we can. A lot of people don't have political power at all. But you know what? I have some limited amount of influence, and so does my wife, Rose. Like, we have a little influence that we can wield, and we are wielding it to the best of our abilities. So just do your best. Don't worry about the rest. We will continue fighting on our end to the bitter end, right?
Right. And if you're not in a position where you can take steps yourself, one of the best things that you can do is to support the organizations that are taking those steps. For example, the Secular Student Alliance, their chapters had they signed up so many people to vote that I would venture to guess that it probably changed at least a few local elections. And they're actively taking on fights in hard right Republican areas to support students. So if you can support them, that would be one thing that you can do without having to enter an election yourself. Same goes for organizations like American Atheists, Americans United for the Separation of Church and State. All of these organizations are fighting for your rights. So if you aren't in a position where you want to take the steps yourself, the best thing you can do is to support the organizations that will in turn advocate for you.
Right. Is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
That is the only thing I can really think of at the moment. But I mean, there's so many things that are happening that are positive that we should be celebrating.
Definitely agreed. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on and talking about it. Don't get down, right? Don't get down. Just keep fighting.
I feel like there's like a slogan, like be happy, don't worry, be happy.
Do
That's
your
not a
best.
slogan,
Don't
that's a
worry about the
song.
rest. Do your
Okay.
best. Don't worry about the rest. That's
That-
my slogan.
Yeah, well, that's better than what I just did. So.
Right. Anyway, thanks for coming. You know, a lot of people don't even realize like what American Atheists or whatever, FFRF or whoever, they don't realize what they do. I didn't until she started working with them. They go through all right, they have employees that go through bills day in and day out, just sift through stuff that's being submitted by Republicans and, everybody, honestly, everybody. They analyze the bills. Lawyers, these people are lawyers that analyze the bills and break it down and categorize them, put them into like spreadsheets to kind of find trends that are happening, and then target lawsuits specifically to challenge the highest number of these bills that are destructive. Like most of the bills that are submitted by Republicans and probably Democrats too, I'd guess, they're not written by these congressmen. In fact, I'd argue 95% of the bills submitted by congressmen or whoever are not written by them. A lot of the bills are cookie cutter, written by corporations and then provided to the congressmen. And then the corporations give them a load of money, and conveniently and completely unconnected, they're not related, getting money and submitting the bill. Unrelated, of course. They take the money from these companies that gave them these bills, and then they submit the bills. So American Atheists and others sift through all of the bills and find the commonalities and sue to prevent them from entering. And, yes, the Supreme Court is Republican right now, but the Supreme Court isn't the only court. There are a ton of courts, like all the way from the local level up in state, and, there are federal level courts and everything else. And we win a lot of those suits, a lot. So on a federal level, on a kind of a 20,000-foot view, we lost. But we're not losing as bad as it feels. So keep on keeping on. Keep pushing through. And we will continue fighting as long as you do. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to talk about all of this disappointing stuff pretty much for the rest of the week. It's just, I want to lay that out and address it since it's on my mind. And for the record, I truly believed Kamala was going to win. I honestly did. I thought Kamala would win. Jimmy Snow predicted Trump's win, surprisingly. It was pretty accurate, too. What can you do? Anyway, so let's go back to Mark Robinson, who lost his election. Again, something to look forward to. Let's talk about who he was. I believe this is from 2020. Wow, I think this might be from 2020. And I think he might have been running for lieutenant governor at the time. He won at the time. But again, he lost this time around.
Idiotic guy was on stage with Candace Owens a few days ago and asked her,
The fact that he watches Candace Owens throws up all kinds of red flags for me.
what America are we going back to make America great again? The one where women couldn't vote or black people were swinging from trees? I would say to him, if I was standing in front of him, I absolutely want to go back to the America where women couldn't vote. Do you know why?
That is a psychotic thing to say. By the way, I remember this clip, and I'll tell you what he's about to do. He's going to claim that the left are the ones that were lynching people and preventing women from voting. He's going to claim that Abraham Lincoln, to the left of the KKK, was seemingly in favor of slavery. Like, Nothing he's about to say makes any sense, and I believe that he knows that he's full of shit. Just keep listening here.
Because in those days, we had people who fought for real social change, and they were called Republicans.
At the time, the left-wing party were the Republicans. Yes, the left-wing party was fighting for social change, as always, even as today. That's right.
And they are the reason why women can vote today.
I appreciate he's acknowledging that the left won the women's right to vote. This is the thing, though, with this guy. He doesn't care about any of this. This is pure propaganda. If he found out, or if he realized tomorrow that the Republican Party was the left-leaning party, it wouldn't make him left-wing. It would make him a Democrat from the 1920s instead. Whichever party the Ku Klux Klan stood with, that's the one that this guy would stand with. I'm not joking.
Those days that he talked about when black folks were swinging from trees. Guess who it was out there fighting?
The left. The left was fighting for them. Yeah.
To bring that to an end, to bring Jim Crow to an end. It was Republicans.
Yes, the left. Correct. So why are you voting for the right-wing party?
Right. So that's the America we want to bring back.
You want to bring... Dude, are you kidding me with this? I'm so glad this guy lost. He's saying he wants to bring us back to an America where black people were swinging from trees, quote unquote. That is real. Oh my God, bro. I'm guessing he thinks party shift is a lie. I don't think so. A lot of people don't realize that there was a party shift, but him, I think he knows better. I think he knows there's a party shift and he's lying, propagandizing here, in my opinion.
We want to bring back the America where Republicans and principles and true ideas of freedom rule. That's the America we want to bring back. That's why I'm a Republican. I'm a Republican because of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment to the Constitution and the 19th Amendment to the Constitution.
Okay, so, oh God, what are those? 19th Amendment is women's right to vote. 14th Amendment is an end to slavery unless they're imprisoned, right? So 13th Amendment prohibits slavery and involuntary servitude in the U.S. except as punishment for a crime. By the way, the reason they added that little addendum at the end, except for punishment as a crime, is because they knew that they could lock up a bunch of black people and sell them into slavery again anyway. So it was like a half measure. It was a gift to the South. That's why it was written in. Anyway, we need to abolish that part. That's neither here nor there. 14th Amendment grants citizenship to all people born or naturalized in the U.S. Equal protection prohibits states from denying equal protection under the law to any person within its jurisdiction. Due process, voting rights, prohibition of insurrection. I'm not sure why he even brought this one up. Prohibition of compensation for former slave owners. Prohibits former Confederate states from compensating former slave owners. Interesting. I didn't know that was in there. Well, for the record, you know that the slave owners were compensated, right? The U.S. government swooped in and bought the slaves from the slave owners. They purchased them. What did the slaves get? You know what should have happened? They should have taken the amount that the slave cost, doubled it, and forced the owner to give that amount to the slave. Bare minimum. Truthfully, the slave owners should have been, after the Civil War, after they waged all this stuff and everything, should have been tried for treason and hung, because that's the penalty for treason, right? And every slave should have been listed as the inheritor, as the, what's the word? They should have inherited the slave owner's wealth and property and everything. That's what should have happened. But here we are. Anyway, whatever. So that's the 14th. What's the 15th? Prohibits the federal government and states from denying a citizen's right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Oh, okay. So they're just like civil rights amendments then, pretty much. So he likes the civil rights amendments, huh? Okay. He doesn't, actually.
I'm a Republican because whenever you look at true, honest-to-God social change for the better, at the top, leading the charge,
was a left-winger, yes. And you just said you're a right-winger.
Is a Republican.
Correct, on the left. He is so full of shit. This dude drives me nuts. I don't know if you remember this story. I'm just going to kind of glance over it real fast, but not too long ago, right leading up to the election. Wait, wasn't there another guy? Hang on. Oh, yes. Oh, my God. I forgot. There's another win I totally forgot about. A win on our side. Republican Senate candidates spent thousands. Wait, are you kidding me? Really? Should be against the law to put news behind a paywall. You want to put ads in? Fine. You want to have a subscription model where people don't get ads? Fine. No paywalls where you cannot read the news unless you pay for it. That is really stupid and damaging to democracy, in my opinion. Hang on. Republican Senate candidate spent campaign money on strip club. Royce White was the guy's name, Royce White. Spent money at a strip club, like campaign money at a strip club. He was a scumbag. He lost. That's a huge win for us. Anyway, a while back, Mark Robinson was uncovered as a black Nazi, effectively. Let me just kind of read a little bit of like CNN's breakdown of what happened. Here you go. They discovered that he had a username across all platforms. Mark Robinson. So it was Mini Soldier, I think, with 2 R's or something. And it was on all kinds of stuff. It was on Twitter, and it had his face, and it had his name. His email address was linked to it, and everything else. It was him. There are a number of ways by which we know that it was absolutely his account. Again, if you're curious why I'm so confident about that, check out the other video I did on the subject. He talks about his model trains and stuff constantly. The Mini Soldier account on Amazon has a bunch of like model trains purchases and stuff. Additionally, he purchased like this piece of clothing that listed his height and his weight when he purchased it, and it's like his Amazon reviews or whatever, and it matches him exactly. It was him. So we check through and find a bunch of Mini Soldier users across, the internet with his email address linked to the account, and he was on places like some website called Nude Africa and all kinds of other places. Oh, yeah, and through this whole leak, I'm very confident in saying that I believe that he has a full concentration camp model built in his basement. Based on his Amazon purchases and his comments on other websites, I believe he has a model concentration camp. What a psychotic thing to have in your basement. And then there's this. This is from CNN. I'd take Hitler over any of the shit that's in Washington right now, he wrote. Robinson's comments on Nude Africa often frequently contain derogatory and racial slurs directed at Black, Jewish, and Muslim people. In a series of 7 posts in October 2011, Robinson disparaged Martin Luther King in such intense terms, calling him a commie bastard, worse than a maggot, and a phony, and a huckster. That a user in the thread accused him of being in the KKK. Robinson responded by directing a slur at Martin Luther King Jr. In October 2010, Robinson used the anti-Semitic slur HEBE, I'm unfamiliar, when discussing how he liked the show Good Times, developed by Norman Lear, saying that show itself is a bunch of HEB written liberal BS. Wow. He's got some esoteric slurs in his pocket here, doesn't he? Then, and so he comes out and he denies it. He says, no, I didn't say any of that. I didn't do any of that stuff. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt it was absolutely him, thanks to email leaks and stuff that came out. But let's just take a quick glance back at some of the other things he said publicly on Facebook. Here's one. 2018, the center and leftist-leaning Weimar Republic, that's the government that Hitler overthrew to take control of Germany. The Weimar Republic put heavy gun ownership restrictions on German citizens long before the Nazis took power. Oh boy, we're wading into insane waters here. This by the way, this is just, first of all, this isn't really accurate, and second, that has nothing to do with anything. It wouldn't have changed the outcome of anything at all. Studies been done on this a billion times over. Wouldn't have helped anybody if they'd had more guns, like if the Jews had had guns or whatever. You know why? If for no other reason than because when they were shipped to the concentration camps, they didn't even know they were going. A lot of the time, especially in the beginning, they were instructed to report to this train station to go to the whatever. They locked their doors that morning. They had no idea that they wouldn't be back. So anyway, just completely full of ahistorical nonsense. But okay, this foolishness about Hitler disarming millions of Jews and then marching them off into concentration camps is a bunch of hogwash. What? Repeating that hogwash makes the conservative argument against the current attempts by liberal Marxists to push unconstitutional gun control measures in this nation look foolish. Okay, I don't understand what that means. There's a reason the liberal media fills the airwaves with programs about the Nazi and the 6 million Jews they murdered, quote unquote. He put 6 million Jews in quotes. Oh my God, bro. There's also a reason those same liberals don't fill the airwaves with programs about the communists and the 100+ million people they murdered throughout the 20th century. There's so much to dissect here. Communism at the time was really, really bad. Modern day communism is just theory over anything else, but communism back then was horrific. Stalin was a monster. Lenin, all right, I'm just going to leave it at that. Stalin was an evil person who was arguably worse than Hitler. That's true. But, we don't have a communist problem that exists in the United States today, where people are actively trying to set up communist systems and ethnically cleanse as a result of their communist beliefs. We do, on the other hand, have Nazis, full-blown self-avowed Nazis that are trying to ethnically cleanse populations in the name of their beliefs. People building concentration camp models in their basements, for example. Here's another. It is at once funny and sad how African Americans need Hollywood to... By the way, he's black. Why is he saying all... I don't understand how they need Hollywood to validate them. Them. Not us. Them. Has he looked in a mirror recently? This is wild to me, dude. And I'm just now noticing that this is off center. It's going to drive me nuts. Oh, well. I've been biting my tongue about this silly Black Panther comic book movie, but I can't any longer. It is absolutely amazing to me that people who know so little about their true history and refuse to acknowledge a pure sorry state of their current condition can get so excited about a fictional hero created by an agnostic Jew. Oh boy, we are going down the hill now. An agnostic Jew and put to film by satanic Marxist. How can this trash that was only created to pull the shekels out of your pockets? I don't know what that means, but I hope I didn't just say a slur. Holy shit, bro. How can it invoke any pride? That is nuts. You want something to be proud of? How about pulling your heads out of the sand and start speaking up and telling the hard truths about the excesses that are destroying many black communities? Oh, and what are those excesses? People drinking too much Starbucks? Is that what you can tell me? How about you stop doing the heavy lifting for Democratic politicians during elections, only to have them pay you in crumbs and ignore you till they need you again? And how about some of you men go home and take your rightful place in that 70% of homes where you are sorely needed? I know a lot of people here will not like this message, but guess what? I don't care. I'm not here to please you. I don't need your validation, and I certainly don't need Hollywood's. This whole 70% of homes thing, he's shouting out to an ideology, or he's shouting out to an ideological belief where they're blaming all of the problems that the black community faces on the black community. They're redirecting blame from a system that has historically oppressed them. They're redirecting it from that to them, to black people. It's their fault. Holy Christ. Get help. I mean, this guy is just wild, man. Seriously, listen to this clip. I mean, this should give you an idea of what kind of a person he is, but it's kind of comical at the same time. Check this out.
On August 18th, 1968, I was born in L. Richardson Hospital for one reason. I was born in L. Richardson Hospital to be one of God's freedom fighters. Bottom line.
Okay, calling yourself a freedom fighter is a little psychotic at its face, but okay, go on.
Nothing else. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I wasn't born to waver, wasn't born to quiver. Yes, I was not born to make nice. That's why my mother named me Mark, after the god of war.
You mean Mars. Mars is the god of war. Were you thinking Mars? Does he think his mom named him Mark after the god of war, unironically? This is just like a microcosm of the guy's head here, right?
Make nice. That's why my mother named me Mark, after the god of war.
Am I wrong here? Or he means Mars, doesn't he?
Because I'm here to literally make war on the devil. I said the other night, I want to make the gates of hell tremble. I just don't want to make the gates of hell tremble. I want to make the literal foundations of hell tremble.
The liberal foundations of hell.
And I want this nation to join with me and do it.
Wait, is it a pagan god? Is Mark a pagan god of war? I'm not seeing anything about Mark, a god. I'm so super unfamiliar with what he's even talking about. I think he's completely full of shit. Anyway, yeah, that's Mark Robinson, man. This guy, he needs help. He was endorsed by Donald Trump, too. Fantastically. I can't believe that he lost. It's just the best.
But some Republicans are concerned he could drag down other GOP candidates running in North Carolina. Nicole Killian has more.
Could I just have 1 minute of your time, sir?
CBS News was the only camera present as Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson did not answer questions.
Dude, I can't believe that his wife is still with him after these revelations. After he went on Nude Africa, and he even talked about, like, watching women in public showers through a vent, and he still thinks about it to this day. That is, I don't even know what word to use.
Outside his North Carolina home Friday. It was his first appearance since reports surfaced about racist and sexually explicit comments that he allegedly made on a pornographic website over a decade ago.
These are not my words. This is simply tabloid trash being used as a distraction from the substantive issues.
The substantive issues, yeah, totally. Like, you know, the fact that he wants to go back to a time when black people are hanging from trees, that kind of substantive stuff, yeah, totally. It's not tabloid trash. It's real. He really does believe this stuff.
Republican, who is now running for governor, refused to bow out of the race and is not expected to attend former President Donald Trump's rally today in the state.
Oh my God, dude. Anyway, yeah, I love it. Just great news. Great news. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Next up, here's some good election news for 2024. For one thing, we got our first openly trans member of Congress. The trumples are not going to be happy about this. The trumples are not happy about it. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. We got a brand new trans congressman. The first trans congressman in the country ever. Fantastic news. What's the name of the congressman? I forget now. I'm using congressman gender in a gender neutral way. I should probably start saying congresswoman. Okay, here. NBC News. Sarah McBride becomes the first out trans person elected to Congress. Fantastic news. That's a win that we can respect. Be glad about. Well, the right is not handling this well, like at all. So I want to talk about how they're reacting to it and kind of the trans panic generally and the successes that we've had. So check this out. Tim Barton, son of David Barton, one of the biggest and most influential propagandists in the Christian nationalist movement. Close friends with Ken Tovand, if you're not familiar.
In Delaware, there was another Tim that's been elected, only Tim is no longer Tim.
He's now Sarah.
Tim is now Sarah McBride.
Can you be a bigger scumbag than this? Is it possible? Why would they start a segment out like this? Why would they say these things? Can they just not respect human beings?
This is the first biological male identifying as a female, first transgender elected to Congress.
As if people didn't know what trans means. As if people don't realize that trans means that they identify as a gender that does not align with their sex assigned at birth. He's got to go into it because he wants to be a scumbag. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Male identifying as a female, first transgender elected to Congress in the United States. So as we talk about what's happening in our nation and needing revival in our nation, needing prayer in our nation, this is yet another indication of where the church needs to be involved, where we need help and revival. And obviously, we want to pray for the soul of Tim, now known as...
What a colossal bag, dude. Really, I'm sorry, man. I don't like being that guy. I don't want to insult people. It's not in me to insult people. I just don't like doing that. But what's wrong with him? Why is he doing this? We didn't need you to dead name somebody 16 times.
Of Tim, now known as Sarah.
Right.
But this is a significant moment in American history that the first transgender American is elected to the U.S. Congress. So definitely something, again, I would absolutely be in prayer, recognize this is why the church needs to continue to speak out and be the church, help teaching people the word of God and helping
What does the word of God say about gender and sexuality? I guess it does say a man shouldn't wear women's clothing or whatever, right?
Deliverance for people that need some deliverance.
Yeah.
Deliverance for people who need deliverance. Well, I'll tell you what. You go ahead and not be trans if you don't want to be trans, but you have no say over what other people do with their lives. Okay, they can do whatever they want. You know why? Because we're in America. This is America. You forget where we are? You forget that we have a constitution that protects us, that guarantees that we have the right to do what we want with our lives? You forget all that? I mean, his dad claims to be a constitutional expert. He's not. He's a pseudo-historian. He's completely full of with everything that he says. It's almost all lies. In fact, he's straight up made things up before. And Tim Barton, his son, continues to contribute to these lies and repeat them. These people are just the biggest scumbags on planet Earth. Yeah, I got to tell you, you see maps of the 2024 election, and it shows a bunch of arrows going right. You see all of these red arrows showing that all these areas that shifted right and all that. That's not what happened. These areas did not shift right. They are exactly as they were previously. In fact, Trump got about the same number of votes as he did in 2020, which is bizarre because even Jehovah's Witnesses get 6% growth per year. But Trump doesn't, apparently. The problem was not the popularity of the Christian nationalist movement. It's the fact that people didn't seem to care as much about Kamala. She got 20 million votes fewer than Biden. I think the message is pretty clear. America just does not want a woman as a president right now. It's not that these people have so much power that they prevented a woman from taking office. It's that people they're not enthusiastic about a woman being a president. They just don't like it, seemingly. They don't like it so much that they're just not going to bother. They just didn't bother coming out. So anyway, took us 2 tries. We learned our lesson. America does not want a woman as a president right now. But they certainly don't want Donald Trump either. He is one of the most contentious, controversial, polarizing, dividing figures in U.S. politics, maybe ever. Maybe. I don't know. There's some crazy stuff that happened back in the day, but he's bad. I mean, there's a long history of these Christian nationalists pretending that they care about trans issues because they just want to help people or whatever. It's bro, just stop pretending. Just be honest for a moment. We know why you want to prevent people from exercising their free rights to live their lives, which is still legal in the United States. We know why you want to do this. Just come out and say it. Stop being a coward and just tell us. This is Ken Peters, close friends with Greg Locke. I believe Greg Locke purchased a church building for him, basically, and he moved, Peters did, all the way from Spokane, Washington, I think, to Tennessee, where Greg Locke is, and set up shop there. His whole congregation moved, basically, with him. That's crazy. Listen to what he said on this issue. By the way, this clip that we're about to watch is from March 27th, 2022.
I get called self-righteous all the time. All my leftist friends.
You don't have any friends. That's the most surprising part. So I'm not even saying you don't have any leftist ones. I'm saying you don't have any friends, I bet.
Who are watching right now. Love you guys.
So he's talking about me.
Accuse me of being, self-righteous and thinking I'm better because I don't like immorality.
Doesn't like immorality. And you know what's ridiculous about this? When he says immorality, he means people being gay or trans. You don't have to like immorality. I don't care. You want to call that immorality? You want to tell your congregation not to be trans or whatever? I don't care. That's your business. But me being trans or gay or whatever, and anybody around me, that's none of your business. Stick to your lane, which is religion.
I don't fight for immorality because
Literally crying. He's crying.
I think it makes me better. Because I think I'm better. I fight for morality because I know God's blessing will come.
So he's trying to force Elton John not to be gay. And that's him trying to help. No, thank you, sir. You don't want to be gay? Don't be gay. The rest of us can make decisions for our own lives.
If we as a nation are righteous, I just want our nation to be blessed. My fight for morality is not an arrogant thing like some self-righteous, bony finger pointing, arrogant preacher that thinks I'm better than everybody else, but doing things back in the back room that nobody knows about, going to get caught someday.
Okay, now I'm starting to make sense of this. I see what he's saying. So he is fighting to ban Elton John from being married to his husband or whatever because he wants the nation to be blessed. Because he selfishly is trying to get God to bless the country, to make us more prosperous. Not because he thinks it's better for society or any of that stuff. And not that he's trying to prevent his own congregation from doing these things. Not because he thinks if he stops his congregation from being gay, then they will be blessed. He wants to impose these decisions on you so he can benefit from it, is what he's saying. We live in a society together that we all have to get along in, that we at least have to leave each other alone in. But he can't even do that. They can't even do that.
That's not me. That's not my heart at all. I just want our country to be blessed. I know if we kill babies, we're not going to be blessed.
Oh my God, dude. That's not what's happening. Yeah, I agree. If we kill babies, that would be bad. I would not be in favor of that. No one is doing that. Okay, that was never happening.
I don't even know what a boy and a girl is, and we're going to be in trouble. I'm just trying to help.
No. Let me just amend that statement for you. I'm just trying to help me. That's what he meant to say. I'm just trying to help myself by imposing my will on you. This is like a massive trend through the far right. Yet we came out the other side with a trans congressman. That is phenomenally good news. Again, I'm using the word congressman gender neutral. I should probably be saying congresswoman, member of Congress. There's a better word to use here, right? Take a look at this. NBC News. Sarah McBride becomes the first out trans person elected to Congress. McBride, a Democrat who served 2 terms as a state senator, wins Delaware's only House seat. Wow, I didn't know that they only had one. Interesting. NBC News projects. Okay. This is November 5th, 2024, 9 p.m. Wilmington, Delaware. Delaware's state senator Sarah McBride won the state's only House seat Tuesday, NBC projects, making her the first openly trans person elected to Congress. You know, I bet, like, there's a bunch of official paperwork that congressmen have to fill out when they enter Congress, right? Like, they have to put their official name down and get badges and things. I would hypothetically bet money that the Republicans are going to make her life a living hell, try to give her, like, a desk plaque with her dead name and all kinds of other stuff. You know, my last name wasn't originally Morgan. Well, my name was. I was born Morgan, but my dad, when he was little, his name was changed because I guess my grandpa didn't like the name or something. Anyway, I think it was a Scottish name. It was a really Wise, maybe? I'm not even sure. Anyway, Republicans tend to respect that stuff. People changing their names just for no reason at all, just because they don't like their old name. But they explicitly, specifically do not respect it and will not follow it or use it if it's a trans person that changed their name. What is wrong with these people? Quote, tonight is a testament to Delawareans that here in our state of neighbors, we judge candidates based on their ideas and not their identities, McBride said at Delaware's Democratic election night celebration Tuesday night. That's really great news. Really glad to hear that. She thanked her friends and family and her late husband. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Andy Cray, who died of cancer in 2014, just days after their wedding. Damn, man, that's rough. My time with Andy reinforced for me a simple truth that hope as an emotion, hope as a phenomenon, only makes sense in the face of hardship, she said. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that, but okay. While at this moment in America's history, hope sometimes feels hard to come by, we must never forget that we are the beneficiaries of seemingly impossible change. Absolutely agree with that one. You don't have to know hardship to recognize hope or whatever. You don't have to know hunger to be full or whatever. You don't have to know sadness to be happy. I think that's just a really stupid saying, in my opinion. Anyway, whatever. Her key priorities for her congressional run were expanding access to affordable health care, protecting reproductive rights, and increasing the minimum wage. She told NBC News in September that her goal in Congress was to work with colleagues to break through the partisan gridlock and actually pass legislation, which she became known for during her time in Delaware's Senate. During her first term, she helped pass universal paid family and medical leave across the state. Wow, that's awesome. Jake Carpenter, 42, works in finance for a college near Lincoln, Delaware, and said he met McBride at a meet and greet in August when he asked her, "What have you promised and how have you done it?" It's an interesting question. She walked him through the policies she worked on in the state Senate, and she won me over, he said. I knew she was trans, and being gay myself, I wanted to see someone like me, someone part of my community, be successful, Carpenter said. She's like a hero to me. He knocked on dozens of doors in Sussex County, the only majority Republican county in the state, to talk to people about McBride's platform. He said he persuaded 6 Republicans to vote for her. That's fantastic. He added that he's an advisor to an LGBTQ club at the college he works for, and that for my trans students, this is a really big deal. Absolutely. Phenomenally good news. That's a win. That's a W that we can take home with us. Got some L's, but we got some W's also. Carrie Lake failed in her bid to become the state senator, or the federal senator for Arizona, I think. She failed. That's great. Mark Robinson, black Nazi, quote unquote, self-avowed, failed. He was voted out. He was a lieutenant governor running for governor. He failed. That is great news. We got some wins. Take them. Build on them. While we build on these wins that we took, these people will continue to cry. And I'll eat it up. I'll enjoy the hell out of their crying. By the way, check out my book, guys. OwenMorgan.com or just Amazon and Audible. It's not on Audible quite yet, actually. I'm still waiting. It's been like 2 weeks. And they're still not, approving it. It's really, really frustrating me right now. But it'll be out soon. I mean, like I said, there's still a large and loud contingent of the far right that's real unhappy with the trans community having any kind of power at all. But you know what? I'll take those tears. I'll take it. This is Jack Hibbs talking to Tony Perkins. Tony Perkins is the head of the Family Research Council, I think. I forget. Or is it? Hang on. Yeah, Family Research Council. That's it. And I believe, I could be wrong, but I think the Family Research Council is the organization that Josh Duggar worked for a while there. Anyway, yeah, he's the president of it on the left, and then Jack Hibbs, televangelist, on the right.
Something has happened. I believe the answer is demonism. I believe it's satanic. I believe we're watching a global event take place.
All right, we got another moral panic on our hands, guys. Buckle up for this one.
The Bible warned us about all along. And Satan traffics in the world of confusion. And if he can get someone confused in this area, he robs them of their God-given gender.
Yeah, he's talking about being trans, of course.
Because he made that person a male or a female for a purpose to bring him glory. If Satan can get them confused there, young, early, notice Satan always goes after the young.
Oh my God, dude. This is fascinating. I've been talking about the satanic panic a lot lately. And throughout the entirety of the satanic panic, you know the complaint that everybody laid down? Leave the children out of it. You want to worship Satan? You can worship Satan, but leave the kids out of it. Stop corrupting our youth. Every moral panic seems to focus on indoctrinating children. It's like everybody can get on board with protecting kids, and they know that, like Jack Hibbs knows that, and he's going to use it. I'm sorry to say, I understand. I haven't talked to my brother in a while. I understand that he's like a far-right, Trump-supporting, Marjorie Taylor Greene-loving nutcase now. I didn't think those people were real, that like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but here we are. And you know, he's my brother, and I know that he's a living human being. So anyway, sorry to say that he believes that kids are being taken by the Democrats and turned trans, basically. I was asking a member of my family about this, and because I didn't know, I don't talk to him practically at all. And this person is not religious. I'm sorry, this person is not political. And I said, well, lay some political ideas down for me that he espouses, and I'll see if I can figure out what he is. Because it was my mom. I talked to her for the first time in years, not too long ago. My mom is not political at all. And she just knows that my brother's just like way off the deep end in La La Land politically. She doesn't know what he is. So I said, lay down some political beliefs and I'll try to figure this out. She says, well, he feels like kids are being turned trans by Democrats, and he wants Trump to win to see that flip. I truly did not know people like that existed. That is insane. It's always, 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 always about the kids. Every moral panic somehow involves people trying to take advantage of kids or something. You know what? I'll take that a step further even. In 1935, in Germany, there were some morality trials, basically is what it was called. Hitler did morality trials against the Catholic Church to basically jail bishops and priests that might have been a little oppositional to him, weren't fully behind him. And you know what he accused those bishops and priests of? CSA, child. Now, there's a reason that he accused them of doing that rather than apostasy, treason, drug use, or drug trafficking. He picked that one for a reason, because they're most likely to do that one, right? But getting people riled up over the mistreatment of kids is the quickest way to gain support. That's what Jack Hibbs is doing here. That's what all of these people do. Get people whipped into a blood frenzy over how children are being treated, even though it's a figment of their own imaginations.
Satan can get them confused. They're young, early. Notice Satan always goes after the young. Then, if he can't kill them in the womb, he'll kill them in the head and confuse them.
This is just insane.
I believe we're watching a global demonic sway of the wicked one upon our culture in the world. And that sounds harsh.
No, it just sounds dumb as dog. That's all. It doesn't sound harsh. It sounds stupid. Like, I'm sitting here wondering, are there really people that fall for this? I cannot believe that there are people that fall for this. That's what I'm thinking. And I don't think it sounds harsh. I think you sound stupid.
But I'm sorry, it's true. It's just true.
These people are jokes, bro. They are jokes. And they don't even realize it. I mean, again, this has been going on for a long, long time. There's this guy right here, E.W. Jackson. He's a, I don't know, he calls himself a prophet, I think. Just listen to what he says about this. This clip, by the way, is from early February 2021.
No transgenders in heaven. No homosexuals in heaven.
I'm guessing somebody presented this idea to him, and he had to mull it over for a while. He's laying down the law. It's not happening. I'll be guarding the gates.
Nobody in heaven is going to be confused about what God made them to be. There's nobody in heaven is going to be talking about, I'm a man, but I've got a woman on the inside of me. Please. See, that's how you know that stuff is of the devil.
Really? You know that stuff's of the devil? I mean, the way that he's presenting this is as a status, like a mental condition that people have, right? Is he telling me that he doesn't believe that Tourette's syndrome is real, that depression is real, or that being gay is real? Like, states of mind, in his opinion, don't exist? States of mind? I mean, you're born as a straight male, and nobody deviates from that. The only reason anybody ever deviates from that is because they want to. Like, is that what he's saying?
That's how you know.
How do I know?
That stuff is not going into heaven.
You didn't tell me how I know.
So what people need to do is get saved now, get delivered now. Did you see this guy, this Assistant Secretary of Health?
Yeah, that's another thing. The Secretary of Health, I think, under Biden is a trans woman, I believe. And, you know, for 4 years, all we heard was this kind of right here. Republicans making fun of this person, lying about them, twisting their story all out of proportion and demonizing them, whatever they can do. You know why? It scares them to have people who are so very clearly oppositional to their theological position in a position of power. That scares the shit out of them. That's why there's so much outrage over the first trans member of Congress. It scares them.
And Human Services, I think it is. What's he call himself? Rachel something or other. I mean, it's sad. It's pathetic. It really is. You look at this guy, and he's a freak.
What a colossal piece of to say that. Can't you just live your life and mind your own business? Is that not possible? Is that not something that you can manage? Did your mom never teach you to shut your mouth if you can't prevent yourself from being a shithead? Did you never learn that quality when you were little? I mean, these people are just shameless, man. They're shameless. I mean, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This is just insane. Good news. Celebrate the good news. Celebrate the W's where we got them, right? Next up, I found another old satanic panic video designed for police officers to recognize signs of satanic rituals. They have this supposed ex-Satanist stroll through a random park, and he happens upon like a billion Satanist symbols drawn in chalk on the ground. This is so funny. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. This is a satanic panic video from 1994, I believe. It's a police training video to train the cops how to identify satanic rituals or whatever other nonsense. Listen to this.
And as you view this learning and educational tape, pay attention to notice the reverse of everything that is normal becoming abnormal. There are many crimes that are unsolved in our cities, and many of those crimes have ritualistic overtones.
No, they don't.
But they're hard to find, and it's difficult.
You think maybe they're hard to find because they're fictitious? You ever knock that one around the old noggin?
Hard to find, and it's difficult to find the depth of where these things go and who may have done them. And so today we hope to be able to shed some light on a dark, dark area.
Yeah, these guys are going to give us the insight here.
An area that has been taboo for so many years, that is also protected by the United States Constitution and the freedom of religion.
The gall.
That's why it's very difficult for us as law enforcement officers to really investigate. But the question really is, where do the freedoms end and our responsibilities begin for our communities?
The scariest part of that whole thing was the line where he said he's a police officer. There are poor fools like this running around on street corners today.
Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, was linked to Satanism.
Or he's going to give us a big list of serial killers that were satanic worshipers or some other. You notice that there was a bunch of outrage over Satanism, but not a peep over white supremacy or neo-Nazis. Not a single word. Weird, right? I mean, today we have white supremacists throwing up white supremacy signs at their trials. We have people with like Nazi symbols tattooed on them. We have a prominent, full-blown, self-avowed Nazi, Nick Fuentes, coming out here, dabbling in politics, working with Kanye West, having dinner with Donald Trump. Not a peep about any of that stuff. All these people that did the satanic panic, their lips are sealed. They don't care about the full-blown Nazis in government. They care about some stupid Satanist garbage.
He had a pentagram on his left hand, and he would draw one on the walls of his victims' homes.
Oh, boy. I mean, I don't even know if any of this is true.
At his arraignment, he yelled, "Hail Satan."
That's so scary. Hail Satan. Can you imagine saying something so scary? Richard Berkowitz, Henry Lee Lucas?
Richard Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam, that famous New York case. Henry Lee Lucas of Texas. Both of these men were linked to Satanism and ritualistic blood drinking.
This is insane, dude. All the way back in the 90s, the 80s and the 90s, they were doing this stupid shit. They believed it all the way back then. It was particularly bad at the time. And he's going through a big list of people who were linked to Satanism, quote unquote. I mean, compare this to the trans panic that's happening right now, where people are all freaked out that they're convinced that there's somebody in some school system somewhere that thinks that they're a cat and convinced the principal to put a litter box in the bathroom. That's not true. That has not happened. That's basically what this is. We're sitting here listening to him give us like 60 examples of supposed satanic worshipers committing crimes or whatever. This stuff is in their heads. It's in their heads. And you know how it starts? I'll show you. This is how it starts. This woman's name is Lisa Hansen. This is from late January 2022. This is where the litter box stuff started. This is the original school board meeting, patient zero, if you will, for the litter box in schools thing, I believe. This is as far back as I traced it.
It was addressed by a child a couple months ago that they are put in an environment where there are kids that identify as a furry.
Okay, which kid? Which kid supposedly addressed this? Hell, which kid is a furry?
Cat or a dog, whatever. And so yesterday I heard that at least one of our schools in our town has in one of the unisex bathrooms, a litter box for the kids that identify as cats.
Okay, now hang on. So she says, I heard at least one of our schools in our town has, in one of the unisex bathrooms, a litter box for the kids that identify as cats. Which school? Which bathroom? The answer is none of them. The answer is the one that's in her head. None of this happened. That's how the satanic panic stuff started too. This is part of a moral panic. Moral panics have happened throughout history. Another example is the Salem witch trials. People freak out and get convinced of some stupid shit, and then they start spreading it all over the place. By the way, I just want to say there was never a school with a litter box in the bathroom. There was a picture of a litter box in a bathroom that circulated for a while. You know what it was? It was a picture of a litter box in an airport bathroom where pets traveling on airplanes can relieve themselves. There has never been a litter box in a classroom.
I am really disturbed by that, and I will do some more investigation on that.
Probably do the investigating first instead of coming up here and opening your mouth.
I know what's going on nationwide. I know it is. It's part of the agenda that's being pushed. I don't even want to understand it. But I think that people need to be aware of it, because I am really upset as a parent that my child is put in an environment like that. And I'm all for creativity and imagination, but when someone lives in a fantasy world and expects other people to go along with it, I have a problem with that.
I completely agree. Wow, something that she and I can agree on. One more time, Lisa. Say that for me. People in the back.
Imagination, but when someone lives in a fantasy world and expects other people to go along with it, I have a problem with that.
Absolutely. Love everything about it. Thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth, Lisa. I'm glad we can agree. If someone's in a fantasy land, we need to crush that fantasy for them, right, Lisa? Here's another clip on this. This just spread all over the place. Same exact way that the satanic panic spread.
A friend of mine in Illinois actually knows a teacher that comes to school as a furry and wears ears and a tail and uses a litter box at the front of the classroom to relieve himself.
So this televangelist that worked with Kenneth Copeland and is on Kenneth Copeland's TV network, the Victory Channel, believes that a school teacher is pissing at the front of a classroom in front of school children? Really? Do you really believe this? And have you ever seen those fursuits? They get hot, I've heard. Not personal experience. I don't know. No, I'm not a furry. I'm just saying they get really, really hot. People carry ice packs in them and stuff because they're so hot. You think they're going to school with these things on? I don't know any teachers that are furries. Like, what are you even talking about right now? This is insane. So now let's listen to this supposed Satanist. Boy, look at this picture of him. On point, huh? Let's listen to this ex-Satanist just stroll through any old park, any random park he comes across, and find a billion different satanic symbols for us.
Eric Pryor is a former satanic high priest turned Christian who now spends his time educating people about the dark side of satanic cults.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but you know that there's only one high priest at a time. It's the leader of the Church of Satan. And it was never Eric Pryor at any point, nor was it Hillary Clinton, contrary to Greg Locke's beliefs.
When I was a practicing occultist, oftentimes I would come into this park and practice on various different holidays, lunar holidays and occultic holidays, and we'd actually have rituals in the park when we didn't have a space to do rituals indoor. So what I'd like to do is take you into the park and just kind of show you one of the places that you would start asking your questions and start looking to see, what the occultists are up to.
Okay, what am I looking at here? What is this? This is but this just looks like a little walkway, right?
There's two different communities that use this park. One is the pagan or occultic community, and the other community is, of course, the homosexual community.
Dude, I love this. I love everything about this. Is so ridiculously insane. The pagans and the homosexuals. I don't know how he's using the word pagan exactly. I've been writing about Germany a lot. Check this out. Amazon Audible was Hitler an atheist. Anyway, in Germany, when they said pagan, they meant like followers of old Germanic gods like Odin or Thor or Loki. Is that what he's talking about? I think that like Zeus, Poseidon, Mars, they would fit into the pagan category in that context. I'm not sure what he means when he says pagan. Anyway, yeah, okay, so the pagans are using it and the homosexuals. Go on.
Interestingly enough, they go hand in hand.
The homosexual community and the pagan community, hand in hand, okay.
And so...
There's a joke in here somewhere. Somebody finish that for me.
And so, well, see, here you go. Upon entering the park, you can see they've already got started.
Okay. He walks up the stairs and pretends to find some random thing spray painted on a tree. Really? You trying to tell me that you just happened upon this?
Okay. This is a pentacle. Interesting thing about this pentacle is it's an upright pentacle. This is not a satanic pentacle. Now, the reason why this pentacle would not be considered satanic is...
Oh my God, dude. It's all bullshit. Like every word out of his mouth is just nonsense.
Because it has one point up. Now, Satanists would reverse this star, or pentacle as it's called, and have 2 points up. Those represent the horns of Baphomet and or the horns of Satan. But now, right over here, I can see on a tree here, there's a...
Wow, he came across another tree with another satanic symbol. What are the chances?
There's a inverted cross. Now, this is satanic.
Wow, there are Satanists everywhere, aren't there?
This is a very generic symbol. Let me see. It's actually fairly fresh, too.
He's pretending to have just stumbled upon this stuff. Really? Come on. You know what this reminds me of? Let me show you. I've played this clip a couple times. Let me see if I can find it. I might get hit with copyright thing on here, but it'll be worth it. Listen to this. If you've never seen Silicon Valley, it is so worth a watch. It's the funniest show ever.
Hey, Guilfoyle, I thought you were a Satanist.
I'm a LaVeyan Satanist.
He's talking about the Church of Satan.
With some theistic tendencies.
Oh, some theistic tendencies. Well, then what's with the cross?
It's an upside-down cross.
Not from here, it isn't.
I love it, dude.
Oh, I see. You know what you should do? You should get another tattoo that says this side up on it.
How's this translated into Farsi?
That's funny, man. I love this show to death. You guys need to watch that if you haven't seen it. Anyway, that's what it reminds me of right there. This guy just happening across some upside-down cross like this. Okay.
Too. This here, of course, is a bastardization of Christianity.
Of course.
And it's a very common symbol. Obviously, they probably had a party or ritual here within the past night or two.
Well, so wait a minute. So he touched this spray-painted cross, says that it's still fresh, and thinks that means the past night or two? Okay.
Usually what they'll do is they'll mark. It's almost like a path. They'll mark a path to kind of show you where the action's at. The colors they'll use will be white, red, and black. Those are the dominant colors of the satanic movement.
He's so full of shit.
And basically, well, okay, over here, see? Here you go. This, well, see, this is what I'm talking about.
Dude, God, it's so fake.
Okay, what you're looking at here is called Voodoo Vivi. This is kind of like a coat of arms, if you will.
Yeah, I think it's just some symbol from the Church of Satan. Again, the Church of Satan is just started by a guy, Anton LaVey, in like the 60s, I think, as a kind of protest to Christian principles. The dude recognized that there's a lot of really bad stuff in the Bible, so he wrote the Satanic Bible, which is the antithesis of the Bible. The Bible says, turn the other cheek. The Satanic Bible says, give your enemy a warning, and if he doesn't stop, destroy him completely, or something to that effect. You know, it's the exact opposite of what the Bible says. The Bible says, don't enjoy lots of food. Don't, have free sex. Don't, whatever. The Satanic Bible says, we're here for a limited time. Enjoy it while it lasts, basically.
For the demonic. And the implications of this is definitely satanic.
By the way, LaVey and Satanists, they're not theistic. They don't believe in God. They appreciate the literary character of Satan because he never told any lies in the Bible. God did. Some of them are probably theistic, like they believe in God. But by and large, I don't think it's a theistic organization.
When I showed you earlier the one pointed up star as we first came in, and I told you that, the implications of Satanism are 2 points up. As you can see, there are 2 points up here, and someone has made it very clear they were probably worshiping Set, because it says Set here, so it's pretty obvious. Now, this here, if I'm not mistaken, looks like a money VV. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were here in the park doing a money ritual. And
a money ritual. I'll tell you how I know that this is all fake. I mean, the whole ritual stuff. If it were real, if you could reliably reproduce these results, the military would have weaponized it a long time ago. There would be somebody on the front lines that acted as a mage and prayed to Satan for money and whatever other thing. This is not real.
This is very typical. This is the kind of thing that you can expect to see not only on crime scenes, but in areas where occult...
Which crime scenes? Tell me. Where do you see this image in crime scenes? Give me one example of a crime scene that had this.
But in areas where occultists hang out, like gang graffiti, occultists kind of communicate to each other through their graffiti.
Yeah, I thought they used the telephone. I guess they use graffiti instead. Okay.
On the rise there up here is a very flat area, concrete area, that is used often. I even frequented it for ritual practice. Well, there you go. You can see.
God, it's well, there you go.
From here, 666 and an eye. Now that eye above 666 is an Egyptian eye, the eye of Anubis. So
I think it's Anubis, but okay, whatever. I'm not the expert.
So I can tell by looking at this eye that these people that were up here were into ceremonial magic. These aren't...
This is so stupid, dude. Get a grip on reality.
Stop it. Get some help.
Stop it. Get some help.
These are definitely Satanists. You look at these dumpsters. See, this is how they talk to each other. Now, what you see here...
Again, I thought it was by telephone, even by certified mail, but no. Okay, dumpster. That works.
It's gang graffiti, okay? And this is how gangs talk to each other, okay? But now this is how occultists talk to each other. This here is a...
Okay, what's the difference? One is a mushroom and one is like stylized lettering? I don't understand. Well, this one has stylized lettering too, right? How do we know that this one isn't a gang symbol instead? In fact, how do we know this one isn't a Satanist symbol? Boy, this guy knows a lot about gangs and Satanists. So knowledgeable.
Occultists talk to each other. This here is a psilocybin mushroom. So...
How does he know it's a psilocybin one?
Probably they had a psilocybin ritual, which is not uncommon. Occultists are known for using peyote and psilocybin.
They are?
And so this was probably...
Why do they keep showing this? I don't understand. It's just like a landscape with some trees. What are they showing us here? Am I missing something?
A psilocybin ritual. Okay, here you go. Shem Hemfarash is a satanic invocation, and Hallie is also part of a satanic invocation. There is a book out called The Greater...
Dude, honestly, I gotta tell you, man, this mullet is doing it for me. I am sold based on the mullet alone. I love it.
Called The Greater Key of Solomon. And in The Greater Key of Solomon, you will see on the seal of Solomon this word.
Again, why are they showing me this picture of this landscape? I don't get it.
All right, from what I can tell, from the graffiti and everything that I've seen, and what I see here on the concrete, it looks like they actually had the ritual here. Now,
how could he possibly tell that somebody did a ritual? What is he talking about?
There's an N here for north, and there's an S over here for south. Now, while these are not the true directions, obviously someone had a bad sense of direction.
Or maybe that's not what they stand for. You ever consider that one? Are you me? Now I'm wondering, did they write this? Did somebody just spray paint like an N and an S for some reason?
I'm assuming that this is where they actually had their ritual. One of the reasons why they would use this particular area to have a ritual is it is on concrete. And
you can't summon demons unless it's on concrete, you see. It's part of the rules. Demons set the rules up, and that's in the book. You got to get the book on demon rituals and rules, of course.
It's a nice open area. When we used to come up and have rituals, and we had a group, we would look for an open, flat space.
That's another rule. It has to be concrete, and it has to be flat. Demons say so. They say, I don't want to come out of this portal on a hill. It would be really inconvenient for me, so it has to be like a flat surface.
This is an open, flat space. This would be an ideal place for them to have a ritual. Now, if I was a solo occult practitioner, I might do it in the bushes somewhere.
I'm sure there are a lot of people doing it in the bushes, yeah.
And have a little altar set up. So what you're doing is when you come onto a scene and you're...
Look, this is the clearest example of freedom of religion that I have ever seen in my entire life, right? Can't these people practice their religion, do their thing, and live their lives without you harassing them constantly? I don't even believe this is real. I think he's making this up. But why does he care anyway? Can't they just do their thing? Did the founding fathers fight for nothing? No, they you know what they fought for, founding fathers? They fought for Mullet Man to come in and complain about other people practicing their religion when they're not even doing it.
You look on the ground and you'll find clues as to what happened. Right here, okay, we have a rope here.
Oh my God, dude. He's acting like it's a crime scene and he's found a rope.
This is a noose. And actually, if you look at it closely, I don't know if the camera can pick this up, but there's blood on this noose.
Then it's a crime scene. Call the police. Set it down. Stop touching things. Stop trudging through all this dirt. Get out. Set up some police tape and call them. Or let them set up the police tape. Why is he doing all of this? This is so ridiculously fake.
Now, this could have been used either to bind someone up in some type of a ritual scourging, or it could have actually been used on an animal.